think actors should say take three is the best, right? So hopefully this will be the best. We'll see. In this chapter, we've talked a lot about opening up the economy. And right here in this objective, we're going to focus on something called purchasing power parity. So let me go ahead and share my screen with you. So here, purchasing power parity looks at exchange rates and how much would you be able to buy in one country versus another. So we believe that if we talk about real goods, okay, real goods, that those real goods should sell for the same price when accounted for the exchange rate in both domestic and foreign countries. So it's based on this law of one price, okay? Now, I like to use this example, and I would draw, but I don't draw well. I know that. Okay, so let's say you live on the Michigan-Indiana border, and you frequent both places, okay? Let's say gas sells for $2 in Michigan and gas in Indiana sells for $1.80. Where are you going to buy gas, right? So you're going to probably, as long as you don't feel there's a big difference, again, we're going to say that the value, the two goods are the same. So you would buy your gas in Indiana. What's going to happen is the demand for gas in Indiana is going to go up. The price is then going to go up. At the same time in Michigan, the demand for gas is going down and the price is going down. Where will these two equal out at? Probably somewhere in the middle to $1.90 in both places. This idea of buying things where they're cheapest is arbitrage. Okay, so you're taking advantage of differences in prices for the same item. Again, you have to believe they're the same item. So purchasing power parity, or PPP, basically says that the value of money is going to be the same in every country, especially when you look at the exchange rate. So when we look at this, really the theory of purchasing power parity says nominal exchange rates must be a factor of price levels. So now we're going to say that the exchange rate is going to be equal to the price level in the foreign market, so put a little star there, divided by the price in the domestic market. And I'll put a little dollar sign there just to keep it the same. So in looking at this, nominal exchange rates, remember the inflation part, changes when price levels change, okay? So, you know, if we increase the money supply in some country, what's going to happen is the value of their currency is going to decrease. The price level is going to increase. And as the price level increases, it's going to cause their currency to depreciate relative to the other currency. China does this a lot. They depreciate their own currency so that their goods appear less expensive in foreign markets and they're able to export more. Now, this also happens in hyperinflationary states. And again, I'm going to show you a video. There's no talking in the video, but what is in the video is, I guess, cool music. It gives me an earworm, but it does really explain the idea of a hyperinflation in Germany after World War I, prior to World War II. And a lot of economists believe that is why World War II started, was because of the depressed economic climate and the scarcity of resources. So I'll see you back in a few minutes. Thank you. Okay, so hopefully you don't end up with the same earworm that I always do. So let's jump back into it here. So this particular slide shows how the money supply increased in Germany, the price level increased as well. And notice the flip of that is the exchange rate. Okay, now, is it the best example? Well, it works to an extent. So some goods are not easily traded, particularly if we talk about services are not easily traded amongst countries and locations. And are they perfect substitutes? I don't know much about gas, but people tell me gas in Indiana is not as good. I don't know. So there's no arbitrage opportunity. So again, then it's a different product in a different country. It's not the perfect theory of exchange rate determination. We do know that over time, in the long term, exchange rates will fluctuate and will differ. But large and persistent movements are usually a factor of the price levels, both home and abroad. One of the kind of interesting things that we look at in economics is the idea of the Big Mac Index. And I swear it's a real thing. You can follow the hyperlink in the introduction if you don't believe me. But this is a snapshot from the Big Mac Index, and it takes a look at different countries and what a Big Mac sells for in each of those countries. Now, question, is a Big Mac portable? No, right? So it's perishable. You can't necessarily go to New Zealand and buy a bunch and then come back to the US and sell them to arbitrage that away. So we do look at this. And we also look at it between the predicted and actual exchange rates. And here you can see there's, it's a reasonable approximation, but really when you look at it, what's predicted versus what's actual, there is a bit of noise in that particular data. Okay, at this point, I just want to sum up chapter 31 with a couple of questions. So here's some review questions. First question, which of the following statements about a country with a trade deficit is not true? So we're looking for the false statement. And then we're going to calculate the exchange rate for a Ford Escape SUV that sells for $24,000 in the US, 720 rubles in Russia. If purchasing power parity holds, what's the nominal exchange rate? So let's start with the first one. Which of these is false? Okay, so the first one that we want to look at is, okay, if we have a trade deficit, that means net exports are negative, right? Because we're importing more than we're exporting. That must also mean that net capital outflow is negative because those two have to be the same. It also means that when we take a look at savings and investment, okay, so let's think about that. What would happen is investment would actually be greater than savings because we have more we have more foreign dollars flowing out of the US as opposed to coming into the US. So that makes investment larger. And then the last one is national savings is greater than GDP. That actually would be true because we have the investment category over here. So A is true, B is true, C is false, and D is true. So there's our false statement right there. It's exactly the opposite of that. All right, let me go ahead and erase that, and we'll do the next one. A Ford Escape SUV sells for $24,000 in the US and $72,000, 1,000 rupees in Russia. Purchasing power parity holds, whoops, back up, come on now. If purchasing power parity holds, what is the nominal exchange rate? So remember, the exchange rate, if we believe in purchasing power parity, is going to be the foreign price divided by the domestic price. So here we have the exchange rate is going to equal 720,000 divided by 24,000. And that means that our exchange rate, where's my calculator? Here it is 720 divided by 24, about 30. The exchange rate is 30 rubles per dollar. Okay, let's make sure we got it right. Yep. Again, since saving minus investment is equal to net exports, so therefore investment has to be greater than savings. Okay, and there's the workout for the 30 rupees per dollar. Okay, that's the end of this learning objective and the